This Wednesday here in the States on ESPN Plus and over in Australia on Foxtel Main Event Pay-Per-View and the KO streaming app for $59.95 here in the States. If you have the Disney Plus ESPN Hulu package, it's $14 a month. Here in the States, it's going to be on ESPN Plus if you just have ESPN Plus. Starting at 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, you're going to have Tszyu, highly ranked 154-pound contender, taking on a very late replacement in a fighter by the name of Steve Spark, who is replacing in what was a high-profile fight, especially in Australia, but was gaining some global momentum in mixed Zerafa. So I'm TstreeT Controversy with FightView360.com. We got my colleague from Australia, FightView360 Australia, on the line, and what we're going to do right now, we're going to play the weigh-in in its entirety, and we're going to talk about the fight because, frankly, I got to be honest with you, I'm tired of now 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm tired of talking about this card, and I'm really disappointed. And the closer we get to the fight, more and more, growing more and more increasingly disappointed that we're not seeing the fight that we've been building up on this channel for over a year now, Tszyu versus mixed Zerafa. So let me stop rambling on and play this weigh in. It's going to be about 4 minutes or so long. You know how these things work. Watch the weigh in, the fighters weigh in, listen to the post weigh in interviews, which is not much, and both fighters face off. So take your time out. Please like the video and subscribe.
We go to the main event of the evening. This being contested for the WBO Global and the vacant Commonwealth Super Welterweight title. 10 3-minute rounds, our main event here in Newcastle tomorrow night. Please welcome firstly to the scales a former Australian champion, a former youth world champion from Toowoomba. This is Stevie Spark.
Top. She got her own shit, she pulling on swift if I send a drop. I got on my shit, she topping me off while I play on top. The clock work, gotta take another like the rollie on top. She play a roll to a T, she say I'm going for a G. I tell her go low free, my house coming around, she'll speed.
69.66 kilograms for Spark. Stevie, we're nearly there, mate. How are you feeling about what's coming up tomorrow night?
Yeah, look, I'm feeling great. The time for talk's over and I'm coming for war. I'm coming to take Tszyu out tomorrow. It's business now.
How do you feel about the support you've been receiving the last week or so since you've decided to take this fight? It seems that Australia are behind you.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. I can't thank everyone enough, and I'm just going to go out there and do everyone proud and win at all costs. I'm winning this fight tomorrow night.
Thank you very much, Stevie Spark. That brings to the scales his opponent. He is the star of Australian boxing, the #1 contender for the WBO's Super Welterweight World title. He is the sole taker. This is Tszyu.
So as the fighters are facing off here, let's talk about Steve Spark, 12-1 with
That's our
11
main
KOs.
event. It is Tszyu and Stevie Spark. It's on main event tomorrow night. I'm Ben Damon. I'll see you at the fights.
Yeah, we're not going to get too much into it, but I see what you were saying, Big J, about what Tszyu. I mean, we do have to bring it up because the viewers are going to bring it up. What is Tszyu and Steve Spark talking about here? We got a little frozen clip of them shaking hands and going back and whispering.
Whispering in each other's ears. That looks a bit dodgy, don't you think?
Yeah.
Boxers don't whisper in each other's ears.
Yeah, but now that we're here, I'm really, really relieved that it's here. But also, it's just like, I would have been much more excited. Obviously, the fans would too. If this was the guy that's supposed to be here in Zerafa. But before we move on to that, let's talk about Steve Spark really quick. 12-1 with 11 KOs. His last fight was against Jack Brubaker in April the 21st. That was at 147 pounds. Before that, in November of 2020, he weighed in at 140 pounds. In July of 2020, 139 pounds. In 2019, he's weighed in at 140 pounds. The point I'm trying to make is this late step in for Tszyu is, on paper, you would think that he's a natural 140 pounder. And now he's fighting a number one ranked contender at 154 in Tszyu. So, since this is going to be our final breakdown into the fight, and also Big J has an interview from the announcer and from Main Event and Fox that we have here on the screen, Ben Damon. We're going to be releasing that as our last video before our post-fight video after watching the fight. So, Big J, what's your thoughts, on Stevie Spark before we move on to Zerafa? Are you giving him a chance? What's your prediction? What's the public saying about him?
Well, the public's getting behind him. It's a real rocky story, but in my personal opinion, he won't last 3 rounds, and here's why. Tszyu needs to knock this guy out, and quick, for 2 reasons. One, he beat Jack Brubaker in under 4 rounds, and Jack was a blown-up welterweight. 2, he sparked out Bowen Morgan in less than a round, and he was another blown-up welterweight. 3, if Tszyu loses this fight, Main Event has no cash cow. They've already lost Justice Hooney. Zerafa's pretty much blown his own leg off, right? And if Tszyu loses tomorrow, it'll be disastrous for domestic Australian level boxing. He'll lose all credibility. It'll shoot everything to shit. So Tszyu needs to knock him out and knock him out within 3 rounds, because if this goes the distance, if this goes past even maybe 4 rounds, everyone's going to go, what, couldn't knock out a 140-pounder? What do you think the top contenders at 154 do to him? Tszyu's got to win this fight, and got to win this fight in brutal knockout fashion for anyone to even think that, because if he does any less, considering what he's already done to previous blown-up welterweights, and this is a blown-up super lightweight, yeah, and even if Steven Sparks does win, which is extremely unlikely, people will just pass it off as a fluke. So, I mean, initially it'll be big, but in the long term, it'll actually be worse off him winning than him actually losing.
He needs a knockout over Steve Spark. 24 years old. If you don't know, Tszyu is 18-0 with 14 KOs. 26 years old. So, to move on, since, we don't want to be too long-winded, what's going on with Zerafa right now? Can you briefly break down, even though we did it before, but we have to treat it if anybody's watching this video for the first time or watching us. Oh, by the way, please take your time out, like the video, subscribe if you haven't already. We're going to be here after the fight with 2 different post-fight videos. One immediately after with highlights, and then another where me and Big J are going to go into a long discussion on what's next for Tszyu and rate the whole card as a whole. But Zerafa, what's been going on with him? How did we get here? Because as it stands right now, the event is still going forward. It hasn't been canceled. People are going to be able to fly or drive home. What's the latest?
Well, the latest is that Zerafa's pulled out. We know why he pulled out, because of the COVID problems, which I'm not going to get into that. But from now, there's been talk that he's going to, there's been publications that he's going to have a fight. Well, in pre-discussions with Joel Camilleri, he was on Instagram the other night talking to Isaac Hartman, and Isaac Hartman called him every name under the sun and said he'd fight him. So, there's been a lot of activity for Mick Zerafa. I spoke to Isaac the other day. He said, "Yeah, I'm happy to fight him," and he said that in that Instagram posting that they did the other day. I think that was on Saturday. So yeah, there's still some activity going for Mick Zerafa, but as this fight going, it's very, very disappointing because if he won, that could have been a massive video for us, and I'm extremely disappointed that he pulled out. And it was taking attention away from the biggest fight in Australia, and now we full credit to Stevie Spark for sitting in, but now it's just Tszyu versus a fill-in. That it's very, very disappointing, and I don't see how Mick's going to claw his way back, because on paper, Mick Zerafa versus Isaac Hartman's a complete mismatch. He's had 3 times the amount of fights.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, in your from what we know so far, and I don't believe the time will permit, but is there time, like, can Tszyu versus Mick Zerafa be revisited?
By the way, I saw a video before on sportingnews.com saying Tszyu's only interested. Yeah, he'll give him a bare knuckle fight. That's it. He's not. I don't think they're ever going to revisit.
They don't want to do. It's business. They don't want to do business with him anymore.
I don't believe so, and no, I don't believe they want to, and I don't believe they should. The fight was only really ever a bragging rights domestic battle in the first place.
Yeah, nothing on the line.
Yeah, it was bar a bragging rights fight. There really, really wasn't any significance to it. So
yeah,
I don't think it'll get revisited again. They both need to go in a different. I was saying the whole time it was too early for this anyway, because there was no significant belts or there was no world title on the line.
Yeah.
So you never say never, but for now, no, they need to go their separate ways and do their own thing. But, definitely. Tszyu needs to knock him out inside of 3 rounds, or it's just going to look bad for him. So
next for Tszyu, and he addressed it at the press conference, something we've been talking about for months since we've been covering Tszyu, that it's time for him, to leave the domestic scene. And it's looking like he's going to be forced to leave the domestic scene and go abroad to be able to get, a title shot. Now, it's looking, with the way things are right now in the landscape, and we've talked about it plenty of times, and we're going to go into more detail after the fight if Tszyu wins, but it's looking like he won't be getting a title shot until, what did we say, about like spring or this time next year, did we say? That we narrowed
April
down
2022.
to?
Yeah, well, he's got to go through, on the PBC side of things, he's probably got to go through Erickson Lubin, because isn't he mandatory WBC now?
He's going to be the one. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's going to have to go through Erickson Lubin. On WBA, he's going to have to go through Magomed Kobranov, the Russian fella. IBF, he'll have to go through the number 1 contender, whose name I can't even pronounce. I don't think they have any interest in the WBA, but but he's going to have to go through one of those names. And from what I was talking to Ben Damon about, they're more interested in the PB side of things, but they want to go straight after Charlo, and they're kidding themselves. I think they're going to get Charlo.
Yeah, now, let me explain how that's going to happen. All right, guys, so follow me. You got to pay attention. For the viewers, take your time out, like the video. Jamel Charlo, WBC, WBA, IBF, and Ring Magazine champion, is going to be taking on WBO champion Brian Castano on Showtime. You guys are probably going to get it on Fox over there in Australia. On Showtime, July the 17th. That's going to be for Undisputed for all of the belts. Erickson Lubin, on the Tank Davis versus Mario Barrios pay-per-view, defeated former unified WBA Super and IBF champion Jason Rosario via body shot. Erickson Lubin is now the number 1 contender for the WBC title. Erickson Lubin is, you can say, a PBC golden boy. No pun intended, with Golden Boy Promotions usually working together. What I'm saying is Erickson Lubin is going to get his title shot. If Charlo defeats Castano, Charlo may move up, may have one title defense, but that title defense will definitely be against Erickson Lubin. Tszyu next fight will likely be, if he defeats Stevie Spark, against Magomed Kurbanov. And that fight will likely be for WBO to be the WBO mandatory. So there's a good chance that that fight can be ordered sometime in August or September. So with the way things are looking, Tszyu may not get his title shot, as we said, until about July, where, you know, the winner of Charlo versus Castaño versus Lubin will be ordered to fight Tszyu, and then the IBF may be first, from my understanding. You know, kind of like what's going on in the heavyweight division with Anthony Joshua, Alexander Usyk, and what went on with Kubrat Pulev. With Kubrat Pulev was the IBF mandatory, and Usyk was also the WBO, but the IBF came first. So right now, you know, it's going to be really interesting to see what Tszyu does if he wins, and if they do pursue the Kurbanov fight, because that's not a fight where a lot of people feel he may win, even though I feel that Liam Smith pretty much was outboxing Kurbanov. But that's my pretty much wrap-up take on it, because right now I'm tired, and I want to really save a lot for the post-fight video. But closing thoughts, Big J?
Well, closing thoughts. I mean, Tim's got to get Stevie out of there in 3 rounds. I mean, I'd love to see the upset, because that would just be hilarious. But I don't see it happening. I mean, yeah, Tszyu for a knockout win inside of 3 rounds.
Yeah. All right. Well, really not really too much to talk about until we talk about what's going to be next, and we can go into more detail. But we pretty much just brought it down there. I mean, broke everything down right there. But I'm TstreeT Controversy, and Big J with FightV3CT.com. Please take your time out, like the video, subscribe, and see you after the fight.